There's an incredibly effective food for reducing inflammation that I wish I had known about earlier. It would have been a great help during my own struggles with gut inflammation. This advice isn't just for gut issues. It's also really useful for anyone dealing with autoimmune conditions or any kind of inflammation-related illness. Anything ending in itis means inflammation of some part of the body. There's a strong link between inflammation in your body, like in your joints, and inflammation in your digestive system. In fact, many joint issues, including those from autoimmune diseases, can start in your digestive tract. Let's first look at what foods you should steer clear of. The main culprits are foods that contain gluten, which is found in many grains. These grains tend to cause inflammation in your digestive system. A lot of people with arthritis might not realize this, but the grains they eat could be causing a lot of inflammation. Then, of course, there are the more obvious things like alcohol, sugar, and junk food. Another term for junk food is ultra-processed foods. It's surprising, but about 83% of all the calories in a typical grocery store come from these ultra-processed items. This explains why so many people have digestive issues. Corn is another big source of inflammation. Most of the time, it's either processed into refined products or turned into high-fructose corn syrup. It's worth noting that around 96% of all corn is genetically modified. This modification often includes glyphosate, which is like an antibiotic and can disrupt your gut bacteria, leading to more problems. Soy falls into the same category. Like corn, most soy is genetically modified. Both corn and soy contain lectins, which can irritate the gut and trigger inflammation. Many people think corn is a vegetable, but it's actually a grain. We use corn in lots of different foods like corn chips and tortillas. Most of the corn in grocery stores is not whole corn, but a refined version. There's even a new type of genetically modified corn out there that hasn't been fully tested for safety yet, and it's interesting to see what will happen with that. Then there are the common seed oils, such as canola, soy, and corn oil. These oils are heavily processed, contain a lot of omega-6, and can cause inflammation. Another thing to consider is A1 milk proteins. It's generally better to go for A2 proteins. An easy way to avoid A1 is by choosing milk products from goats or sheep, like goat cheese or sheep's milk yogurt. These are fermented products, which offer extra benefits, and they contain the A2 type of protein. However, it's important to note that some people are allergic to casein, a protein found in milk. Others might be lactose intolerant, meaning they can't properly digest milk sugar. This is similar to how some people have issues with gluten. You might not have a full-blown allergy, but rather just a sensitivity to gluten. Then, there's the topic of fiber. Nowadays, there are all these new types of fiber being introduced, like corn fiber or tapioca fiber. These are often marketed as healthy, but they can actually cause more bloating and inflammation. If you're dealing with inflammation, particularly in your gut, it's a good idea to cut back on fiber. This means avoiding not just the obvious sources, but also those considered healthy, like plant-based proteins, beans, legumes, and even some vegetables. These can be rough on your colon. In such cases, trying a meat-focused diet, like carnivore, might bring you some relief. Now, I've covered the foods that can worsen inflammation. Let's switch gears and talk about a super beneficial food for fighting inflammation. This food is incredibly rich in glutamine, an important amino acid. Out of all the foods available, this one has the highest glutamine content. Glutamine is crucial for the health of your colon cells. These cells form a single layer lining your colon and act as a barrier to your immune system. They have a high appetite for glutamine. Glutamine is a big deal for your colon cells. In fact, these cells use up about 30% of all the glutamine in your body. This is because glutamine plays a key role in producing ATP, which is like fuel for your cells. It's especially important for the layers of cells in your intestines and the mucosal layer, where all the good bacteria are found. Glutamine also helps maintain tight junctions in your gut. Let's delve a bit deeper into why gut health is crucial. The main issue here is something called leaky gut, or intestinal hyperpermeability. This means there are tiny gaps in the lining of your intestine, allowing larger, undigested food particles to pass through. When this happens, your immune system flags these particles as invaders and attacks them. This reaction can lead to the development of food allergies and intolerances. Essentially, consuming the wrong kinds of foods can create these gaps in your intestines. But glutamine comes to the rescue here. It's like a repair solution for these gaps, helping to restore the integrity of your gut lining. So, what's the best source of glutamine? It's meat and beef in particular. Interestingly, despite some current debates about reducing beef consumption for various reasons, beef turns out to be a powerhouse for providing glutamine. This amino acid is excellent for healing and supporting the gut, as well as helping with other inflammatory issues. This can be beneficial whether you have an autoimmune condition, joint pain, or other inflammatory problems. You can take glutamine supplements, but consuming it naturally through beef seems to be more effective. Speaking from personal experience, before I switched to a ketogenic diet and was still eating a lot of carbs, I didn't feel great. But when I started eating more beef, the change was remarkable. My bloating went away, which was surprising because I used to think fiber was necessary to keep things moving in the digestive system. However, I discovered that beef was really soothing for my gut and helped reduce many of my inflammation-related issues. I used to have really bad arthritis in my hands and back. It took me a while to realize that it was linked to my diet, especially the carbs and grains I was eating. If you're curious about trying a different diet, here's an idea. For vegans wondering about a good source of glutamine, guess what? It's cabbage, particularly red cabbage. It's packed with glutamine. Cabbage stands out as a great glutamine source among vegetables, just like beef does among meats. When you have gastrointestinal inflammation, many vegetables and fibers might not work well, but cabbage usually does, especially when it's fermented into sauerkraut. Fermented cabbage not only gives you glutamine but also beneficial microbes. Other good glutamine sources include cheese from sheep or goats, kefir, eggs, fish, and particularly bone broth. These foods are great for helping with inflammation. So, I've broken down how to manage inflammation and listed foods to avoid to really make a positive change. If you're dealing with any type of inflammation, I highly recommend trying out certain foods. Start by including beef and cabbage in your diet and see the difference it makes in reducing inflammation. Many people are pleasantly surprised by the results. Make sure you get proper exercise. Eat other gut-healthy food and drink plenty of fluids. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.